Hello, fellow Movie Crusaders, and welcome to another latest episode of the Movie Crusaders Chat About. My name's Sean Wasserkrug. With me, as always, is Brian Michaels. I would say we're still on track, but we're shooting a little later this week, obviously, because of Thanksgiving. And Brian and I both work jobs where this holiday is a real bitch for us because I'm in retail. He works with packaging and stuff like that. So we're pretty busy these weeks. But there's been a lot of news. In typical fashion, because it always happens with Brian and I, and we'll get a little more into it later in the show. Literally, we shoot an episode of this, and in the span of us shooting this and me editing it and me putting it out, crap that we talked about
Which
on the
is
last
usually like less than 24 hours.
Not even 12 hours.
Yeah.
It's the shit that we're about to post is already old because it's been updated. But it got to a point with this week that because I'm starting to write stuff down as soon as stuff happens. And I set Brian a list. I was like, Brian, this is everything that's happened since the last show, which has been like maybe 10 days since we shot. And he's like, we're going to have to condense this down or this show's going to be 3 hours long.
Right.
So if there's stuff that you're like, oh, well, you didn't talk about this. Either A, we didn't think it was enough for us to really dive deeply into. And we just had to figure out what was worth talking about and what wasn't, because there was a lot of shit.
Yeah, we can't talk about everything. So this is kind of the stories that we had the most to say about it that jumped out at us.
Exactly. How was your holiday? I kind of told you on mine. I spent it with family, and then I worked Black Friday, which for anyone who's ever worked retail, y'all know what Black Friday's like. And for the people who shop at Black Friday, stop being assholes. Like, seriously, you're the reason why we're out there. Show some fucking common decency. But Brian, you don't have to deal with customers. So how was your holidays?
My holiday was just fine. I had way too many relatives over here, mostly in-laws. Was happy to see them leave. I mean, I love them all, but okay, it's time to go.
I love you, but get the fuck out.
You put in your hour.
Yes.
But I mean, that was fun. But I mean, and other than that, it's really eventful. It's kind of restful for me because I don't have to work on Thanksgiving, and I don't have to work on the day after Thanksgiving, so I get a whole 4-day weekend off.
I think this week is big for me and Brian because this is when we get to buy a shitload of movies.
Yeah, because I'm cheap. I'm super cheap. So unless it's something I really, really, really need immediately, especially with the speed that things come to streaming services, I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to buy a movie for $30. I'm going to wait until Christmas. I can get it for $9.99 or less.
I used to always be like, every Tuesday, I'm buying every new movie that came out that I want.
Yep.
Then shit got more expensive. And so I'm like you now, unless it's something that like I really, really want to see right when it comes, like Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse or Guardians or something like that. I wait for like Best Buy Black Friday, which that's now going to be dead. God, that's going to kill. And I will buy like $300 worth of DVDs and, make sure they all have digital codes. So that way I can put them on digital. And then, so like I had like 30 fucking movies like show up today. And my girlfriend's like, what is that? And I was like, it's my movies. And she's like,
this is how we're spending December.
Yeah, it's like, this is what I do. Black Friday comes and I buy all the movies on sale and stuff that I've been wanting to buy all year. It's like, do you not see the big thing downstairs filled with movies? That's what that's for. But yeah, so this is a fun week. It's a hard week, but it's a fun week when it comes to movies for Brian and I. I have no idea what next year's going to be like with Best Buy no longer selling media in that respect, because that's where
even the stores that had like virtually like Walmart and Target and them, they didn't have any like in-store giants. They used to have those big dump bins full of things, players. They had none of those this year. So I mean, a lot of people have shifted more to online buying anyway. But yeah, with movies and media, it's next year is probably gonna be nothing.
Well, I do online media, but usually with Best Buy, you can still get all those great deals online. I just haven't shipped to my home. But even this year, I mean, there was maybe 10 movies that were like actually like marked down really well. And then the others, I was like, well, I really like Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning. I was like, oh, this isn't marked down. All right.
Yeah, it's not even a sale. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I guess I'll buy it because I want it. And I'm not going to wait till next year to get Mission Impossible. So there's a few of them where I had to like spend full price on it. And I was like really kind of pissed off about it. And then there were some where it's like, am I really going to watch this?
I've been able to be more patient because, like you said, in past years, it used to be every Tuesday I was there buying all the new releases. Yeah. But now that was in like the streaming services era. I mean, you had
Oh
Netflix,
yeah,
but
it
they had
definitely
just kind of
was.
random movies, but now everything comes to some service and so fast that I'm like, it's on there. I have it to watch if I need to, so I can be more patient.
What's funny, I know we're way off of what we were already
Oh,
starting on the
totally.
show, but I didn't care about digital codes for the longest time because I had the physical media. It's like, why do I need to watch it digitally? I have the disc. And it wasn't until I met Brian and we started having to study for like trivia matches and stuff, and where it's like, okay, digital is actually really the way to go. So I don't have to go like hunt downstairs for the DVD disc. And then sometimes you only have the DVD quality and not the Blu-ray, and the quality doesn't look good. And it's like, well, if you watch it digitally, it's this. And now it's like I only will buy a disc if it has a digital code, because everyone's like, well, then why do you buy the physical one? For when the internet is shit and everything breaks down, I can still watch all the movies that I want to watch.
Or if a service decides to remove from the service or edit their version of it, things like that. So.
I'm still waiting for when they release Spirited on disc, if ever, because that movie deserves to be purchased on every media platform. For anyone who has not seen that, this is our annual, probably going to do it at least 3-4 more times before the end of the year. You guys should go to Apple TV and watch Spirited, which was one of our favorite movies of last year.
Absolutely.
And if you go, I don't want to watch a Christmas Carol movie, shut the fuck up. This one's fucking great. Actually, no. Have a good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Yeah, I just rewatched it this past week, and I'm probably going to watch it again before Christmas. So
yeah, I told my girlfriend, I was like, you haven't watched Spirited, have you? She's like, no. And I was like, oh, we got to watch it. She's like, I'm not a fan of musicals. I'm like, I'm not necessarily either, but this one is fantastic.
How is she on Will Ferrell and Ryan Reynolds?
She loves Ryan Reynolds. Will Ferrell, I want to say she likes, but kind of like you, it depends, because you never want to go full Will Ferrell on some things. But I know she likes like Step Brothers and stuff like that. So
definitely.
Yeah, I think she will like it too. I think she heard Will Ferrell, Ryan Reynolds, Christmas Carol, and she's like, okay. And then I said musical, and she was like, I don't like musicals. I go, but there's a musical. There's literally a song in the movie about telling people to go fuck themselves, and it's so great. It's so great. You just have to watch it. So we'll watch it at some point. I'm kind of tempering expectations, like when I do with you, where it's like she'll probably just think it's average, and I'll be like, but I love it, kind of thing. So anyway, that's our holiday stuff. We're actually going to dive into the actual show now.
So speaking of things you watch, have you watched? I know you're working a lot lately. Have you been able to watch anything lately?
This has been rough because with the situation now and work being crazy, I haven't got to watch Jack. I think last week's episode I was like, oh, I'm gonna go see Hunger Games and I'm gonna go maybe see Next Goal Wins. I haven't got to watch one movie. I think it's been like 12 movies that have come out since we last shot, and I haven't got to watch a single one. But I did get to watch all 5 episodes of Squid Game: The Challenge, which, if you're a fan of Squid Game, check it out. I think it's actually kind of fun. But I have not got to watch any movies. You luckily have. So
I have got some. There's still plenty I have not. I went and saw The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, or whatever the hell that title is.
Yeah.
Entertaining enough. I don't know if it's going to like reinvigorate the franchise, because honestly, there's not even another book, so I'm not even sure where they're going to go with it if they do. I like Rachel Ziegler. The plot's a little, but it was entertaining enough. But then again, I was never a huge Hunger Games fan. I will say a lot more music than I expected in it, and I meant that in a good way. I really liked the music in it.
From what I heard, and maybe you can add to this as correct or not, but from what most people I heard, first 2 acts are great, falls apart at the end. That's what I've heard.
Well, I think the problem with this game, I don't even say really problems, which is expectations, is in this movie, the Hunger Games, the actual games, is in Act 2. And then there's a whole act of like the aftermath of that. Whereas in the other ones, the games was like the culmination, was like the climax of the movie. And this one isn't that. And I get what they're going for here. And that makes sense, because you don't want to be exactly like the other ones. And it is kind of supposed to show that repercussions of what happens in the games and kind of where it might go from there. But I can understand how some people would be disappointed by that.
Yeah. I know you also saw Thanksgiving, which I said I was not going to watch, but everyone seems to be telling me that I need to be checking this movie out, that it's actually decent.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't call it like a must-see movie. It's not like, oh my gosh, this is the best horror movie slasher in a while. It's nothing like that. But it is an enjoyable slasher, and it is the least Eli Roth movie I've ever seen.
Which that right there sells me on it, because I like Eli Roth like in Inglourious Bastards. I don't like Eli Roth as a director. So you telling me that it's the least Eli Roth movie of all his movies actually is a plus for me. Not a
There's some horror directors like Rob Zombie's another one where you get a Rob Zombie making a horror movie, you kind of know what it's going to look like and what it's going to be like.
Gory and shitty acting.
Yeah, you can kind of think that with Eli Roth too. And this one, while it is probably a little bit more gory than most regular slasher movies, it really feels like, I think I called it felt like one of those, you know how like 100 movies came out in the late 90s, early 2000s, which was like just Scream wannabes, Scream knockoffs.
Like Urban Legend.
That same, yeah, stuff like that.
Valentine.
That kind of whodunit, young, attractive cast, the kind of things. Yeah. And it's one of those slashers. It feels exactly like it was plucked right out of that era. In a good way. I mean, I enjoyed it. It didn't blow me away, but I liked it. So it was good. I also saw The Holdovers, Paul Giamatti.
I remember seeing the trailer for that, and I was like, I like Giamatti. This is one of those movies that I might check out if it gets award recognition, but it's not something I would probably go out of my way to see. I'm honestly shocked you went and saw it, because I did not think this would be a movie you would go check out.
Well, it's Alexander Payne, who's done a few movies that I've enjoyed, like Election and some other stuff, but I like the director. It's a little longer than it needs to be. It's like 2 hours and 15 minutes or something like that. Maybe just over 2 hours. It could have easily trimmed like a good 20-30 minutes out of it. Giamatti is great as always, although he has this he's supposed to have like this weird like lazy glass eye or something.
Yeah, his eye is all over the place.
And it's so, every second he's on screen, I was distracted by that eye. And there's not a plot reason for it. There's no reason for the character had to have that eye. And so it's so distracting. It's just a weird, unnecessary choice. I mean, it didn't hurt the movie, except maybe to be distracting me a little bit.
I'm going to put you on the spot here. What was more distracting? Paul Giamatti's eye or Rachel McAdams' mole in Doctor Strange?
Paul Giamatti's eye.
I feel good about that, because we love Rachel McAdams.
I think that comes down to screen time. That comes down just to screen time, because she was not on there as much. And the problem is also I saw Doctor Strange on IMAX screen, where there's this giant mole just staring at me the entire time. And plus, when you're watching her, you in theory looking at her eyes and her face, whereas like in Paul Giamatti, you're looking at the eyes the entire time. But maybe you can look away from the mole. So that is what it is. The other release I saw, not in theaters, but I saw at home, was the Please Don't Destroy Legend of Foggy Mountain. Foggy Treasure. Yeah, Foggy Mountain Treasure.
I remember you told me about this, I think, during our summer preview, and I was like, no, I'm good. Then I saw the trailer for it. I was like, oh, this looks like Without a Paddle. I'm interested. And then you messaged me going, what? What'd you say?
I don't remember exact wording, but I was pretty disappointed by this one.
Yeah, you told me, don't bother, you will hate this movie.
Oh yes, I said I think you're gonna hate this movie is what I said. Yeah, because like Please Don't Destroy, they kind of became like the new Lonely Island as far as making the shorts on the Saturday Night Live, the digital shorts, and those are usually pretty entertaining. And coming out of the movie, great. They decided to move it to Peacock instead of theatrical. Very smart move. This thing was gonna crash and burn at the box office. Nobody was gonna see this movie. And it's got some laughs here and there, but it really feels like, a sketch that got dragged out into an hour and a half, and it can't support it. And beyond there being some funny moments, it was pretty disappointing. But I did say that I hope this is like their Hot Rod. Like Lonely Island did Hot Rod, which was not a success, and honestly wasn't that funniest. Although a lot of people
it wasn't.
There's some funny moments in that, but overall it was pretty rough. But then they went on to make Pop Star, which was hilarious. So I'm hoping that maybe this is like their little rough one, and their next one can be as good as that.
That hopefully they get another chance to do something that is like, oh, you're one and done kind of thing.
Yeah, because that is all. I have not seen any of this week's releases with Wish or what else came out? Napoleon. I haven't seen that kind of stuff.
Genie on Peacock, Good Burger 2, which honestly I wasn't really. I was reluctant to watch it, but there's even people that I know who I don't really hold their opinion in high regard because their tastes are really bad, and even they didn't like it. And so I was like, wow, if they didn't like that, I'm gonna hate this movie.
Yeah, I had no plans to watch that. I think, and even next week, I think I'm not going to see a lot of the ones that came out this week because I'm going to be seeing Godzilla -1 coming out. I'm seeing a screening on Monday, one of those secret screenings, which I'm pretty sure is going to be Silent Night, which opens the following Friday.
Silent Night comes out on the 1st.
It comes out on Friday, but yeah, I might get to see it Monday. I'm seeing something on Monday. I don't know.
Yeah, I was like, you're definitely seeing Silent Night, knowing
Oh,
you.
yeah. If it's not that screen, I'm definitely going on Thursday night to watch it.
Godzilla -1. I mean, and for everyone, yes, we have been watching Monarch, but we have both decided we're gonna wait and talk about Monarch till the season ends because we don't hate it, but it's also not really worth talking about yet.
I kind of need to see where it's going and how it ends up and what they do with it. So we'll wait and discuss that at the end.
Yeah, exactly. But Godzilla -1 looks amazing. The reviews have been stellar so far, so we're definitely going to be checking that out. I did have a brief opening where I was going to see Hunger Games this past week until I saw that it was 2 hours and 45 minutes, and I was like, fuck. And that's going to be 30 minutes of trailers. I was like, I don't have 3 hours and 15 minutes to go do that. Not without, it was one of those things where it's like, either I go and see it, and call me sappy or whipped, I don't give a crap. It was either I go and see this movie and I don't get to see my girlfriend, or I just go home and go see my girlfriend. And I chose that. Whoopah! Oh, Chandler Bing. Because it was like, I want to see it, but do I really want to see 2 hours and 45 minutes of it? Because I'm not a huge Rachel Ziegler fan. She's fine. I want to see it.
I would say it's worth seeing, but it's something you could easily wait and watch.
Yeah. I mean, I like Viola Davis, and I like Peter Dinklage and Jason Schwartzman and stuff, which we'll be talking about him a little bit later. But it was not enough to make me go, oh God, do I want to watch 2 hours and 45 minutes of this in the theater right now? If it was on digital, if it was out on like Peacock or whatever, I would have watched it because I would have had time at home. It was just more finding time to get to a theater and sitting there with work and everything. That's where I ran out of time. Had it been a digital release, I would have gotten to check it out. But was there anything else you watched?
That's all for what was watched. Yeah.
Okay. Next, we're going to move on to movie news, and that is where stuff's happened. There has been some serious stuff. Before we get to the big one, because this is the one that's probably going to take most of our conversation.
Okay.
And like I said, in typical fucking fashion for the Movie Crusaders, we talk about something, and then within 12 hours, it changes, and then we're airing it. And I'm sure people who were watching it once I dropped the episode was like, dude, this is already passed. And it's like, I know, I fucking know. We shot this 2 days before it got dropped, and that is Coyote versus ACME. We talked about that at pretty good length last episode about, they were shelving it for a $30 million tax off or write-off. This is bullshit. We were excited for this movie. We really wanted to see it. The word of mouth from people who had seen it said it's the next Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which is an all-time classic. And we're like, God, I hope for some reason this word of mouth basically helps them go, okay, well, we need to ship it around.
Well, what's even worse is that I even said, I'm like, they can't do that because of what they're doing with it, this tax write-off. But I mean, I did leave myself that little loophole that said, I don't think anything's finalized. So there's a possibility I could do it. But once they actually did the tax write-off, though, they could not sell it to anybody.
Yeah.
And then here we are.
I don't think even 8 hours passed, and boom, they're shipping it off to they're trying to sell it off to other people, which I haven't heard.
They're holding some screening. They already did hold some. I think they're holding more for screeners for potential buyers, mostly streaming services and that. I don't think they're going to even try to go theatrical anymore. But they were holding screens for potential buyers. And apparently some other people were let in too, because like Lord and Miller, apparently they got to see it, and everybody that's actually talked about it after these screens has said that it is great. It's like the best Looney Tunes movie they've ever made and things like that. So I'm optimistic someone will buy it. There's been no word yet, but as soon as we record this, I'm sure somebody will. So.
Yes, I guarantee you. Just for people who don't know, this is airing on Black Friday. This is Friday. So when this comes out, which could be Sunday, Monday, it's still a busy weekend for me working, and I edit these things. They could already go, it's on Netflix. You guys are behind. We know we're shooting this at this time because the way this has been happening, same thing with the strike 2 episodes ago. We were talking about the strike, and then literally within 24 hours, the strike ended. And we were like, crap, okay. So who knows?
Recording it today, according to me, it might be in our favor, though, because nobody's working today, and they aren't going to work Saturday, Sunday. So the earliest I think we'll hear something new is Monday.
Exactly. So we'll, if anything, what do you guys want to have changed? Because apparently we have this power where when we talk about stuff on the show, shit happens. So let us know, what are you mad about that you want
We
changed?
apologize for not talking about the strike about 3 months earlier. Sorry, guys. We didn't know.
Exactly. Plus, we weren't really talking about movie news and stuff. Now we're doing that, so now we got the time. Now probably the main news. We do have more news, but the main news. And we have talked about this franchise, a lot, especially in the last 2 years, and that is the Scream franchise. You and I are fans of the first two. I like 4. You were a little on 4. We both don't like 3 really that much. You like 5 way more than I do. I hate 5, but we both agree that the ending's shit. But we both liked 6. We thought 6 was actually really well done, even though they still fucked up the ending. We were excited. We literally talked about this. I think, was it last episode? We were talking about Scream 7 because of Landon.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, we were real excited because Christopher Landon, who we really like for horror films, is taking over for Scream 7. And we were really excited to see where this was going to go. Now, shit's hit the fan. They've lost their 2 leads. It's Melissa Barrera, right?
Barrera, yeah.
She posted some stuff. Brian's going to have not a stronger opinion, but you word it better than I do about this stuff. She said some stuff about Palestine,
Israel, yeah.
Yeah, she said some stuff. People took it the wrong way. I'm hearing that they did take it the wrong way. Some people are saying no, she said this. Anyway, bottom line is she got fired from the studio and from the movie, which we were like, for us, we were like, well, that literally just ruined the storyline that we had been writing for the last 2 films, but that they had been building up for these last 2 movies. It's like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? And it's like, oh, well, they've been wanting to get Jenna Ortega top billing ever since Wednesday and stuff like that. That's what's happening. Like, no, that's not it. Not even, I think, 12 hours after the firing of Melissa Barrera, Jenna Ortega bows out due to scheduling conflicts with Wednesday. Sure.
There might be truth to it. I'll discuss that. Yeah.
Yeah. So the core 4 is now down to the twins, which we like the twins. I don't think we need them to have their own separate film now, but we'll dive into it a little bit more. But go ahead with what I was saying, because like I said, you have a bit like a better way of speaking about the Melissa Barrera situation than I do.
So Melissa Barrera had made a bunch of posts on Instagram about the Palestine-Israel conflict, and people lost their shit and started complaining, calling for her ouster and things like that. But the problem is, I started to look into it, so like into what she posted, and I saw a couple posts. I'm like, well, this isn't that bad. They really fired her over this. But then I saw somebody post like all of them that she had made. This is quantity, just like went on and on and on and on, like these tons and tons of posts. But the thing is, my understanding of it, and not having read every single one of them, I'm not going to all the details, is that she's basically saying, there's all these people, especially like Palestinian people she's referring to, are, not everyone in Palestine is part of this army. They didn't attack Israel. There's innocent people getting caught in the middle, because they're the Palestine, like Hamas and that is in allegedly like, hiding things in hospitals and schools, that's fair game to bomb that. So a lot of innocent people are getting killed. And basically her thing is, we need to stop killing people, stop looking at these people as villains, blah, blah, blah. But so really, when I look at what she says, it's not that bad. It's not anti-Semitic. It's just saying like, hey, Israel isn't innocent either. Everybody needs to stop. There's innocent people on both sides getting hurt. But I'm not here to talk about politics, just how it affects the movies here.
Yeah, no.
So there's that. I don't think they should fire her. I still think there's a chance they'll bring her back once things die down. But it's like, if they lose her, well, I'll get into that. First of all, Jenna Ortega, right after we heard, she's not coming back either because of scheduling conflicts. And I was one of the first people to say, I'm pretty sure that's code for because you fired Melissa. But there have been people who I trust, like articles from people who usually have pretty good sources that say there was already talk of this, of her having, because of everything that got moved after the actors' strike, that there were scheduling conflicts. She had already kind of informed some people that she was not going to be able to do Scream 7. So there might be some truth to scheduling conflicts after all.
But by dropping it, within this timetable.
The timing was bad.
Yeah.
The timing was bad. So
it was one of those things where like, well, look, guys, you're mad about Melissa. Jenna's not going to be there either. It's like that you should have led with Jenna not coming back.
Yeah.
Because it wouldn't have made it look that bad.
Here's my thing is because also Christopher Landon, the director, had posted, because I guess people were like going off on him after Melissa Cabrera got fired.
Not Landon's fault.
And he posted essentially, here's my statement: everything sucks. Stop yelling. I had nothing to do with this decision. That was his whole post, which I totally respect. That. He's like, I didn't fire. If it were up to me, she'd be here. But stop yelling at me because it sucks. Because it does. It sucks for him, and it sucks for everybody that was planning on making this movie. Because now his film is, who knows what's going on with it. Yeah. The writers have recently said that they want to try to get Neve Campbell back, which she is going to be in a great position for this. Because before she wanted more money and they didn't want to pay her. Now I bet they're far more willing to pay her some money.
Same thing with Courtney.
The producers are saying they would also like to have Patrick Dempsey come back, who is his character is married to Sydney after Scream 3. Although he actually appear in 4 and 5. That's in the story of Scream, they are married and he's still alive. Which I could see him actually doing that, because I mean obviously he did Scream 3, and then now with Thanksgiving we know he's still interested in doing horror genre movies, so it's possible.
Yeah, I could see him doing, and we even called this talking about 7. Or even 6, is that having him come back and doing like a Cotton Weary in Scream 3, where he's the one who gets killed off right in the beginning.
Could do that. Or at this point, they might want to keep recognizable faces from more of the movie. So who knows?
I mean,
but my thing is, go ahead. My whole thing is, I don't want Neve back.
We like Neve, by the way. We don't dislike Neve Campbell, but
no, but they didn't need to go back to the well of the Sydney characters. My thing. If it were up to me, Scream 5 wouldn't have had any of them back, or would have had them in the opening and had them be the people that get killed, the returning characters. I would have liked to have more of a clean start, because now I think that Jenna and Melissa characters, I kind of liked where they were kind of starting to go with those characters, which apparently is not going to happen now. So at this point, like you said, I don't think I need a movie that stars like the twins as the new stars, because I think Woodsboro has run its course. I really think that if they're going to go on, they should just really start a whole different thing. And it could be like, copycat murders or something, because it's not like the only copycat people would be in the same city. I'm sure people all over the world or country have heard about this, but that's just my opinion. What are your thoughts on where it should go?
Well, first things first on the whole Melissa.
Or wait for Jenna. That's the other thing. Wait for Jenna to be
able to You can wait. We don't have to rush Scream 7
especially now, because you have to rewrite the script apparently. So.
Exactly. We got time. You could easily kill Melissa off screen, or you could say Melissa moved on, because the whole plot point of 6 was that Jenna wanted to be on her own and Melissa was holding her tight, and they could have finally branched off, and that's why Melissa's not there. You just kind of like how they did where Sydney is not there in 6. You could have done that, so that way if cooler heads prevail, they can bring Melissa back and boom, we're good to go. But no, they could wait. They don't have to rush Jenna back. But it's one of those things where Letitia Wright said a lot of shit too, and they didn't fire her from Black Panther because she was going to be Black Panther. But it's like,
don't get me started on that. Okay.
This and Brian and I have both been in agreement on this, is leave politics and all this crap off the movies. People have the right to, whether we agree or disagree or any of this shit, that's their personal lives. That's not the movies. People wanted to attack or cancel Chris Pratt because of the church he went to and stuff like that. Now, if you like Chris Pratt, you're evil or some shit, which is like, oh God, shut the fuck up. It's no different than like you and I, we don't defend him, but we still appreciate good Kevin Spacey movies because he's a fantastic actor. We're not outright saying what he did was wrong or right.
I completely understand never putting Kevin Spacey in another movie. I completely get that. But at the same time, it doesn't change the fact that these movies he already made, because a lot more people worked on those movies than Kevin Spacey.
Exactly.
So I can still love 7.
I'm not gonna stop watching The Negotiator.
Yeah.
Because that's a damn fine movie because Kevin Spacey's in it, or many other movies that he's in. or anyone else like that. You and I are both not gonna stop watching In the Heights because of Melissa Barrera and her comments and shit. People are not gonna stop watching Wakanda Forever or Black Panther because of what Letitia Wright said. But the studio apparently is afraid that, oh no one's gonna come see Scream 7 because Melissa Barrera said this. You know what? You know who doesn't really give a shit about this? The fans of the franchise. The people who really are going to be butthurt about this are probably not the people that were going to come see the damn movie anyway. And
That's
you know what?
Most
They probably would go see the movie just to hate
uproar
on
and that call for people's firings are probably not people who are going to see that movie anyway. In most cases,
if anything, they will go to the movie to hate on it. That's more money for the studio. So it's like you guys are just shooting yourself in the foot. Now, granted, Melissa Barrera is not like Jenna Ortega level, star, or even Nev Campbell in terms of Scream and stuff like that. So Melissa Barrera, she is the co-lead of the last two films. Now, her career was just really starting to kick off. So, I mean, losing her is not like losing Jenna Ortega because of, Jenna Ortega had like the best 2021, like ever, or no, 2022 or 2021. Well, just those 2 years together. Jenna Ortega went into the hemisphere. It'd be like trying to fire Chris Evans from Captain America. It's like, what are you doing? Like, you can't do that. Like, people are not going to not see Chris Evans as Captain America. But, so, I mean, in terms of firing, I mean, yeah, you could probably get away with it. But in terms of where the story was going and everything like that, like, are we really worried that people were not going to come see Scream 7? Is that something that we were legitimately worried about? Didn't it make more money than Scream 5?
Sorry, 1 second. Sorry, folks. Sean doesn't have to edit that out. My humidifier kicked on really loud. Say again your question.
I said Scream 6 made more money than Scream 5, right?
It did, yes.
Yeah, so it's one of those things where it's like and a lot of people blame Scream 5 for sucking on Melissa Barrera, and I was like, absolutely not. It was not her fault. It was the writing and the script, and she got better in 6. So she was building this character up, and the way it ended, we were like, I am kind of intrigued to see where the girls go from here. But I also agree with you, is at this point, I don't want to see Sidney Prescott back. I don't want to see Gale Weathers back. They both have been stabbed many, many, many times, and they won't die because Gale was supposed to die, I think, in 6, and they chose not to because they already killed off Dewey or some shit. I think they need to start over as well. Or just don't do it, which sucks because I want to see what Landon does with Scream as well. Now, I'm not saying do a reboot because that's completely what Scream isn't about, is rebooting.
Yeah, I wouldn't reboot it.
They're going to do it. They're going to do it their own way.
Universe, but yeah.
Exactly. I'm fine with them starting somewhere different, maybe another small town, maybe not even Ghostface, maybe adapting it to the TV series had a different costume. It wasn't the Ghostface costume. It was a totally different look and different thing. And they tried to go with it. It went 3 seasons. I don't recall the 3rd season ever getting released, but apparently it had a 3rd season. I saw the first 2, but it was one of those things where it's like they tried to do something different with the show, whether it worked or not, here or there. A lot of people don't even know that Scream had a TV show, but you can take this franchise with Landon and you can do something completely different. Let Landon off the leash. Let him do what he wants to do with the power of Scream behind it, and leave. Because the way 6 ended, you could technically end the story. I think there's more story to tell because of the whole psycho-ness of Billy Loomis's ghost and air and all that kind of shit. But if you needed to, they kind of all walked off in the sunset together. They left that writes itself to an endpoint. Let Landon start fresh, new cast, new location. Even though I like the New York aesthetic, now that they're in New York, you kind of can't do New York without going, where is it? Where's everybody? Go start somewhere else. Start in another small town somewhere. Go to LA. Go somewhere different with a new cast and let Landon just do what Landon does best.
Yeah. Can I just say on a final note, In the Heights is a cursed movie because first of all, it's supposed to be like this big, huge release after Hamilton was a hit. And of course, COVID hit, it got released same day, movies and streaming on Max. And so it flopped completely. Then you had Leslie Grace from that movie was going to be Batgirl, and that movie got canned and shelved, never for anyone to ever see. And
got
then
taxed right off.
Melissa Barrera, who was supposed to become a big star, and she's apparently not going to become a big star, at least not in the near future, because of this kind of thing. Derailing her whole.
I'm blanking on his name. Lead
Anthony Ramos.
Anthony Ramos is still going strong.
He's still trying. He had Transformers, which was, he obviously the humans aren't the focus of those movies. He's got a couple of them coming out next year. I'm looking forward to. So I still have hope for Anthony Ramos, but so far he's still not quite.
And Corey Hawkins was in the.
Corey Hawkins was already kind of doing his own thing before, but yeah.
All Corey Hawkins had was 24 and The Walking Dead, which I know I know that's not nothing to scoff at, but
Straight Outta Compton, I think, was his big break.
I think he might have been 24 before Straight Outta Compton. Maybe.
I'm not sure.
I don't know. I'd have to look it up, but I don't care enough to look it up right now. But yeah, In the Heights is fantastic. I feel sorry for them.
But it's just cursed. Yeah.
Yeah. Moving on now. There's been a lot of superhero stuff happening. Let's go ahead and get the Kang Dynasty part of this done, because you know more about this than I do.
So Kang Dynasty was supposed to be the next Avengers films. The next two Avengers films were going to be Kang Dynasty and then Avengers Secret Wars, like a year apart. Obviously, they've been building up the Kang saga with Jonathan Majors as Kang through Loki and through Quantumania, things like that. Of course, some shit's happened. Jonathan Majors, again, innocent until proven guilty. He's going to have a stay in court. But in the meantime, Marvel, it seems like, is kind of like, we think we're just going to go a different direction right now. Because Daniel Destin Cretton, who was the director of Shang-Chi, was supposed to be directing Kang Dynasty. He has now left Kang Dynasty. He's still going to be working apparently with Marvel on things like Shang-Chi 2 and Wonder Man, one of their Disney Plus series, which is going to be one of those Marvel, what do they call it, Spotlight, where it's like not necessarily like in the continuity, you don't have to worry about interconnecting. So he's still there. There's word that now when the writers had gotten let go off of Kang Dynasty, so people are thinking, well, maybe they're just not going to do that movie at all anymore. Now there's word that they're going to make the next two Avengers movies like a two-parter, kind of like Infinity and Endgame, with just one director or the same directors for both movies. So yeah, things are changing up quite a bit there now. I don't know if they're going to go with leading up to Doctor Doom in this villain. I don't know if they're going to keep the one lead Secret Wars. Maybe the Secret Wars becomes a two-parter. Maybe the whole thing becomes a way to fast track getting X-Men into the MCU. That all remains to be seen. But as it is now, it looks like Kang Dynasty is not happening as it was, and probably the Kang saga might be over now. It's hard to say.
Like I said, the way Loki season 2 ended, they could end Kang because of what Loki did. I don't want to see it if he's found not guilty.
The only real loose thread it leads is that ending of Quantumania, but even then, it's like people didn't care about that anyway. So.
Yeah. But yeah, if they go with Doctor Doom, okay, cool. I prefer to see Kang because I really want to see what they do with it, because clearly they had a plan. I love Jonathan Majors in the role, but I think at this point we've done recasting before. We got multiverses. We can literally, I get there's a whole fucking arena of Jonathan Majors Kangs. There could be one in there that doesn't look like Jonathan Majors, and you could recast Kang. You could give us a story that you had planned. Don't pivot. Don't try to make Doctor Doom bigger than what he was planning on being. Just give us the Kang story you wanted. If it's with Majors, great. If it's not with Majors, there are plenty of actors out there that could probably do as well. Probably not exact, but as well as what Majors is doing.
The best like fan casting suggestion I heard was John Boyega. I could totally see that.
I would be okay with Boyega.
Yeah.
Or Aldous Hodge. I'd be okay with Aldous Hodge as well, because especially once you saw One Night in Miami, I trust his ability to do it. But yeah, I say don't pivot. Put your feet in the ground. Ride the wave out. I know a lot of people want to hate on Marvel right now, but I think running away from the Kang storyline is actually probably the wrong move.
See, my opinion is kind of the opposite, because I'm like, can we just write off this last, phase and a half or whatever it is, and can we just hurry up and get to X-Men? That's how I feel.
But X-Men is probably a part of this, though. So
That's what I'm saying. But I don't know, because it depends. I don't know what Secret Wars is going to be. I don't know where they're going to King Dynasty, but I kind of feel like they've got to bring them in by those Avengers movies. We'll see what happens, but I don't know.
Yeah. Staying with the MCU, there was big fan casting rumors. Nothing's been 100% confirmed yet on any of these castings, but they are leaning very close to being potentially accurate. And that's Fantastic Four. We seem to potentially know an inkling of the actual cast of the four. Still don't know Doctor Doom yet. But we have it's Vanessa Kirby potentially as Sue Storm. I can't.
So what's happening? None of this is official, and a lot of it is
official, but
it's not even so much rumors as like industry sources kind of thing. But then again, they said that about Adam Driver was like all but signed like 3 months ago. So who the hell knows? But currently, yeah, Vanessa Kirby is rumored for Sue Storm. Joseph Quinn from Stranger Things is rumored to be Human Torch, and the guy whose name I don't even remember, somebody from Andor.
But he's also in the Punisher. he's the Punisher's best friend on the Punisher show. Okay. He's on the Bear. It's I'm gonna look up his name because he's such a fan. He's a fantastic
actor. Do this. But then the newest rumor is Pedro Pascal, who obviously
Yvonne Moss Bakrash. I'm butchering his name. I apologize.
So he's supposed to be a thing, and the latest rumor is saying Pedro Pascal is going to be Reed Richards. For me, giant improvement from Adam Driver. Adam Driver's a fine actor. I prefer him when he's being funnier, like in What If. Yeah. But I
would be okay with him if he was Johnny.
He's too old for Johnny.
He's too old, but Johnny would have that comedic, kind of thing.
So I like Adam Driver. I don't like him for the Reed Richards role. Yeah. Pedro Pascal, I think is actually pretty inspired casting. I really like this, honestly. I think he's the right age. I think he has the right demeanor. He can come across as very intelligent. I'm still of the opinion that Fantastic Four should never be a movie because especially not in this MCU, because there's no way to do like Mr. Fantastic's elastic powers without just looking goofy as shit. I hope they prove me wrong, but I just think it's going to look ridiculous. Even when John Krasinski did it in Doctor Strange, looked fucking stupid as shit. So I don't think they should make it. But as far as the character, aside from his powers, I think Pedro Pascal is a good fit.
See, I'm a little about that. I think Joseph Quinn as Johnny Storm is great because I loved him in Stranger Things.
Yes.
Ebon Moss, I think he would be a great thing. Because I love that actor, and even though he was already in the MCU, but he's playing things, so he's gonna be CGI'd up,
largely voice only. Yeah,
exactly. But I think he's fantastic for it. Vanessa Kirby, I don't hate it, but outside of like Mission Impossible movies, I haven't seen Napoleon yet, obviously, but
I don't just like her. I just find her very bland. But then again, the whole character of Sue Storm is very bland, so it's another reason. Like, can we just skip Fantastic Four? They're not going to, but I wish they would.
Didn't we do our fan casting? Who? Do we remember who was it? Was it Weinstead?
Actually, I think I might have right here. My thing is, we did fan casting these so long ago. People have aged out of these roles, and new actors have come on the scene. So I'm pretty sure we didn't get it. We're not going to get anything right at this point. I don't know what you had for Sue Storm. We came up with Emily Blunt, of course, at the time. Lily James, I talked about.
I think I might have done Blunt because I did Krasinski as.
Yeah, and I think I was saying Lily James at the time, but then we didn't know kind of what age group they were going for. But yeah, at this point, we're not going to get any of these predictions right because it's been so long now that they've got to go for a different kind of person. So whatever.
Yeah. Pedro though, I love Pedro. Mm-hmm. He's Din Djarin. He's Joel from The Last of Us, who I love. I don't know if I want him as Reed Richards though. Love Pedro. I would have, if he's going to be in the MCU, I would rather have him as a different character. I wouldn't want him as Reed because I feel like the Reed character is. I've never been a big fan of the Reed character, and I feel like they're just plugging Pedro in there, and I feel like Pedro's owed a better character.
Oh, do I think he deserves better? Yes, but if you're going to make a Fantastic Four movie, it's like you might as well at least put a good actor in there, and I think he's a good fit for it. Although yes, I would prefer better for him as well.
I would if I had to choose, and I know you're gonna hate this. If I had to choose between Pedro and John Krasinski, I would stay with Krasinski, just because we already got him, and give him the proper time to be this character because we know John Krasinski's capable of it. Give him the proper time to be.
Oh, I'd still love to have Krasinski and Brent, but they're not going to do it. But I would still like.
No, I don't like the potential casting choice of Pedro. Now, granted, that doesn't mean that if he gets it, I'm not going to be excited to see him. I just don't think it's the casting choice I would prefer. I'm not going to be like those assholes that were like, Heath Ledger's the Joker? Fuck this movie, Brokeback Mountain, bitch. I was like, no. It's like, if he gets it, cool. I'm not going to be disappointed. I'm sure he'll knock it out of the park because Pedro's awesome. Just not who I would have picked because I could find some other role for Pedro to be in. Probably an X-Men character, I think he could be. Honestly, he would be a great
anything he makes will be a step up from his role in Wonder Woman, 1984.
He'd be a great. I actually would like Pedro as Logan, especially after watching him as Joel. But he's too old for it now. But I think he'd actually be a good Wolverine. Honestly, he could also be a good Sabretooth because Sabretooth is the older brother. I wouldn't mind seeing him as Sabretooth. He'd have to put on a muscle suit, but I wouldn't hate that. Like I said, I'm already coming up with people I think he'd be a better than Reed Richards.
Yeah,
I wouldn't hate him as Magneto either. I think he'd be a good Magneto. He'd be a good Doctor Doom. I think
they have to because I think we talked about this before. They have to completely reinvent Magneto because Magneto's whole thing was being a child survivor of Auschwitz, and that's his whole thing about never going to let this happen again, and the kind of thing. But it's because of the
time frame
in years, they can't go with that plot line anymore. They have to reinvent the character. So.
I think he'd be a great Doctor Doom. I really do. I think Pedro would be a fantastic Doom. I just don't like him as Reed Richards.
You know what? It would be great if it turns out that's what happens. Pedro is because again, none of this stuff is final. The only we don't even know any of these people are even officially in talks to do it.
Yeah.
So whether it turns out to be true, I don't know. Whether they turn out they're talking about the right role.
I don't want Pedro doing this to affect The Last of Us. Even though anyone who played the sequel, I'm just gonna say that and leave that at that. I also don't want it to, not that he's doing a whole lot of Mandalorian except voice work and the occasional moments on screen. I just don't want this to affect the shit that he's already in that we love him in.
I don't think it will. I think at this point, because those are established, I think that if they signed him for this movie, he'd be like, well, look, I have this area blocked out for this area blocked out for this, and they'll have to work around that. I think at this point, that's what happens because he's already in those, and this is something new. So I think that's what happened. Like what happened with Jenna Ortega and Scream. It's like she was going to do Scream 7. She was going to do new season of Wednesday. She's got other movies already lined up. So it's like, once things got moved, she's like, well, now I can't do Scream 7 because I have this area blocked off to film Wednesday. I have this area blocked off for this. And that's what happens. But we'll see.
Yeah, we'll find. I know season 2 of Last of Us is supposed to start shooting in February. So
as far as official casting, though, we have some on the DC side with Superman.
Yes. I'm gonna get the small one done first, and that's Jimmy Olsen. Skylar Gisondo. Is it Gisondo?
I believe so.
I love this kid. So when I saw anyone who's ever seen Santa Clarita Diet, and if you haven't, it's on Netflix. It's 3 seasons. Timothy Olyphant, Drew Barrymore, and Skylar. It's a fantastic show. Should have never been canceled.
I know him mostly from Booksmart.
You know him from Booksmart. He was also in what's that?
The New Vacation, I believe he was also.
Yeah, he was in The New Vacation. He was in a bunch of other things. I think he was on. I think he might have been on like the Bill Engvall show. I think that's where I first knew him, like The Youngest Son or something like that. That's perfect casting. I didn't know how perfect it was until I saw Jimmy Olsen and his name. I was like, holy shit, that is actually perfect. That's a perfect casting choice. I know you don't have much to say about Skylar for that.
I didn't even know about that one until actually I was looking up something else and I saw, they cast Jimmy Olsen. And I agree. I think he's a perfect fit for the role.
Yeah. Not where we thought we were going to go with Lex. I think it looked like it was going to be between the Skarsgård brothers because that's where rumors were going between Alexander.
Yeah.
Yeah, Alexander and Bill. Which if they were going to pick one, Alexander. 1,000% Alexander Skarsgård. But we are getting Nicholas Hoult, Beast himself. I don't hate it. I don't love it. but I reserve the right to obviously grow to love it, because Nicholas Holt's always one of those actors that I hear kind of almost Awkwafina to a point where we hear him and I'm like, but then I watch him like, you know what? Why do I give Nicholas Holt a hard time? I enjoy him in like 90% of the shit he's in. He's one of the best parts of Mad Max Fury Road, but the trailers made him come off unbearably annoying, and he was fantastic. He was great in Renfield. He was a solid beast in the X-Men prequels. I don't know how he would be as a Lex, though.
Yeah, I'm completely in a wait and see mode on this one because I like him as an actor. I think he's good, and I've enjoyed a lot of stuff he's been in, much like you said. I don't see him as Lex Luthor. I don't even see him as a villain in anything, honestly. But especially as a Lex Luthor, because he doesn't come across as like this, this genius, smartest man in the room who can outsmart Superman, who has master plans. But I can't see it. But then again, I have not read James Gunn's script, so I don't know where he's going with the character.
He was going for Superman, and I wouldn't buy him as. I could buy him as Clark Kent. I couldn't buy him as Superman.
Yeah, I don't see it at all. But I am not going to root against it because James Gunn hasn't really proven me wrong yet. So
yeah, James Gunn knows what he's doing. So it's one of those things where, like I said, Heath Ledger and Joker, when they casted him, I was like, Nolan knows what he's doing. So if he picked Heath Ledger, he picked him for a reason. And same thing with this. James Gunn picked him for a reason. So I have to buy in and believe that Gunn knows what he's doing, and Nicholas Holt wasn't Superman, but he was good enough to be Lex Luthor, so I'm intrigued by it. I can't say it might be one of those things where I have to see a trailer like with Heath and go, all right, he can't be worse than Jesse. He can't be worse than Jesse Eisenberg, because that one was woof.
And that one had the most potential to me, because it's like I could totally
Social Network, yeah.
If you took a Social Network, basically you take Mark Zuckerberg, his version of Mark Zuckerberg, as like this villain who's like the smartest guy in the room, and he's kind of scheming and conniving. Like, I totally see it. And that's how the movie, I'm like, oh, that's where they were with it.
Hands it up so bad. If he had just played it like Zuckerberg, it would have been fine. But he basically like goes, I want to be like Zuckerberg with Jared Leto's Joker minus the tattoos, and that's my Lex Luthor. And it's like, even though I know his version came out before Jared Leto's Joker, but it's just like, dude, what are you doing? Like, do you even know what you're doing? I don't think you do. I wanted to like that. I did. And there's parts of him that I did like as Luthor. I think Nicholas Holt's probably going to play it straight and narrow, because I don't see him going off like that. I see him as being, I would hope, and I know you're not going to agree with this because I know you're not a fan of it, closer Nicholas Holt is to Michael from Smallville is go with that.
Again, the problem is we don't know the tone of James Gunn's movie, so for all hopefully it's a perfect fit for it. We'll see.
Yeah, if he's anything like Michael Rosenbaum in Smallville, I would be happy with that performance. Next, we're gonna go to trailers. There were a lot of trailers that popped over the last week. We're not going to talk about all of them. We're only going to talk about the ones that really mattered. The big one, we'll get that one right off the top of the head, is Madam Web. We had heard about this movie for a while. It was one of those, was like, is this movie actually getting made? Because I don't believe it, because of A, the cast, and B, it just seems like one of those, like, when Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man starts, like, oh, we're going to get a Sinister Six movie. We're going to get it. It's like, yeah, okay, yeah, this is not actually going to happen. And then the trailer came out, and I remember watching it, and it felt like a fever dream watching the trailer. And I had to, like, watch it again to make sure what I watched actually was real. What were your thoughts on it?
So Sony never learns from their mistakes. I mean, like you said, last time they tried to rush into making a
one step forward, 2 steps back.
Yeah, and they're just like, let's just go with quantity over anything else. Like, they decide, okay, we'll make a Venom movie, and then we're gonna make Craven. I'm still hopeful for Craven if it ever comes out. And Madam Web is like, and Madam Web is like one of them a little bit deeper cut. I mean, she's not super deep cut, but if you're not casual fans of Spider-Man, have no idea who Madam Web is. I didn't know.
You watch the Spider-Man cartoon, you know who she is. I don't know.
But she's otherwise. But she's not a popular character. You ask a person on the street, they're going to know Venom and Carnage and Spider-Man. They're not going to know Madam Web necessarily.
Yeah.
So it's like, why are they making this movie? I don't know. I still don't know why they're making this movie, but they're going to make it. They cast Dakota Johnson, who I've never really been a fan of. She's been passable in a couple things like Bad Times at El Royale, but for the most part, not a good actress.
I like her better Falcon.
Yeah, then I watched this trailer and it's like, okay, first of all, it looks like a 2000s Marvel movie. You know, things back in the era of like Ghost Rider and Daredevil and some of those, or even like Spawn. If you're talking about other comic book movies, it looks like one of these 90s, early 2000s comic book movies, which is just like, I don't know. There's just a certain style to it. It's very dated.
You went Spawn with it. Damn. Went Spawn.
It looks like Spawn to me. You have the problems of like the cast of it. Like Sydney Sweeney is in this. Of course, she's playing like got glasses.
We're going to be talking about her again here very shortly.
But she's got the glasses on and she's super shy and it's like, oh, she's going to turn out to be like all hot and she's like the supervillain. Like, can you find a more tired trope in comic book movies that hasn't been used from everything from like the Riddler to Electro to whatever else? Like all these people, if they're wearing glasses and they're like nerdy and shy, then I guarantee you they're going to become the supervillain in this movie.
Oh my god, ew, glasses and overalls, hideous. Have we not learned from
some kind of villain in this? I don't know all the details of what's in this movie, but it looks like Spider-Man in the Night Monkey costume from Far From Home, except he has the Iron Spider legs from his Tony Stark suit, Iron Spider suit. So it's like they're kind of rehashing that. That's not who the character is. I'm saying it just looked like that to me. And then the biggest problem with it is Dakota Johnson, because first of all, she's a good decade older than her little group of friends there. Because you got her, you got Sydney Sweeney, you got the girl, I don't know her name, from Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Chelsea O'Connor.
But Dakota Johnson's a good like 10 years older than her group of friends, which okay, fine, I'll overlook that. But then she also has this typical Dakota Johnson typical Dakota Johnson manner. She has this flat line delivery, especially when she's narrating certain scenes or saying certain lines. It's just like she's talking like this and blah, blah, blah. Like, oh my god, this is the worst acting I've ever heard in my life. So monotone, so stiff, and so I'm already going into this expecting it to be a trash fire. I don't know.
Let's put it this way. I had to watch this trailer 3 times just to kind of like comprehend everything that's happening. I've heard the jokes that it's like final spider destination, and you know what? If you hand this thing up, this could be enjoyable. If you are going to try to keep this super serious, this is going to fall flat on its face. I had this without knowing anything really about it, just that it was a Spider-Man movie or a Spider-Man World movie. This was in my most anticipated somewhere, because everything right now is, it's in there, but until I see something, I'll then gauge it. To watching this trailer and just deleting it off my list, because I don't have any anticipation for this movie. Will I see it? I mean, sure, I fucking saw Morbius. This can't be worse than Morbius or Venom, because I think the Venom movies are shit. And I love Venom. I fucking love Venom. And goddamn, the Venom movies are horrible trash. And yes, I will see the fucking third one, and I will probably hate it too. But yeah, it can't be as bad as Morbius. I would hope not. I
didn't hate Morbius nearly as much as you do. This looks far worse than Morbius to me, but we'll see.
Morbius is you just wanted to hate you don't like Morbius. You just want to say that Morbius is better than the Batman to piss me off. So
it is still better than the Batman.
No, it's not.
It's more enjoyable than Batman.
Yeah. The Batman is overrated, but it's not worse than fucking Morbius. But yeah, this movie, you and I are in agreement. Sydney Sweeney does nothing for us. Acting wise, everyone's like, she's so hot.
I don't even see she's that hot, honestly.
I don't see it. I don't see it. I think I'm not saying she's unattractive. I'm just saying that everyone's treating her like she's like this, like, Brooklyn Decker, fucking Cameron Diaz in The Mask bombshell. And I'm just like, okay, cool. But every time I've seen her, because we're about to talk about her again here real short, I have never seen Euphoria. She could be amazing in it. I never heard of Adam Driver, until he started doing Star Wars and shit, because I didn't watch Girls. I'm sure she probably is good on that show. She hasn't shown me shit in anything else she's been in, because everything I've seen her in, I'm just like, okay. She seems kind of very much like a younger Dakota Johnson. Her deliveries are bland. She doesn't seem to have many emotions.
We'll talk about that in a minute. Yeah,
exactly. The rest of the cast, I don't dislike. Dakota Johnson, you kind of take what she is. I don't dislike her as much as Brian does, but yes, her delivery is pretty bad, at least in the trailers. This could, like I said, if you hand this up, this could be fun. It could. I'm not holding out hope, because unless you're Spider-Man Into or Across the Spider-Verse or Beyond, which is, who knows when that's coming out now, Sony and Spider-Man haven't mixed well since Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. And that's someone who actually likes Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, but the movies themselves are kind of a mess. They are.
Both Andrew Garfield movies are better than all three Tobey Maguire ones, just saying.
I disagree with that, but that's nothing against Andrew Garfield or the cast. I think it's more of a writing problem with those films. But yes, Sony, I don't think they know how to write Spider-Man. And they keep trying to make the world. You know what? You did make a Spider-Man world in animated form. You have yet to make this world in live action form. Craven could be the little shining light. We hope, because we want Aaron Taylor Johnson to prevail so badly. But it's just, this trailer was rough. It was rough. Speaking of rough, the next trailer, Anyone But You. We were marginally excited for this because of Glenn Powell. We love Glenn Powell. We love this man so much. I remember him from Scream Queens. He was a shining light on that show. Then, we got to see him in Set It Up with Zoe Deutsch on Netflix, which is
Everybody Wants Some. He's great in that.
Everybody Wants Some. Top Gun Maverick, he was great in. This guy so badly needs to, stardom. And he's getting this movie, and he's been doing the marketing with Sydney Sweeney. Are they dating? We don't know, but they got a movie coming out. They showed us a teaser. Bland as shit. And that's coming from from both of us who really want to see this because of Glenn Powell. Trailer comes out. Better than the teaser. I still don't think Sydney Sweeney's a good actress. There was nothing about this movie that made me want to see it for Sydney Sweeney. I do want to see it for Glenn Powell. I think the rest of the cast in the movie is solid. I think Sydney Sweeney's just an attractive woman there to, partner with Glenn Powell in the movie. Because, like I said, I could watch both these movies, Madam Web and Anyone But You. And she could, I'm not going to say she's going to blow me away, but she could be like, you know what? She's actually pretty good. But with the sample sizes that we are getting, I'm not impressed with her. I would love to be. I would love to see what everyone else is seeing with her. But I just don't see it. I actually kind of had to make you watch this trailer. You're like, I don't want to watch the trailer. I was like, it's actually better than the teaser. Give it a shot.
Well, I think I'd seen the teaser. We were excited about the movie just because of Glenn Powell, and because you don't get a lot of good theatrical rom-coms anymore, anyway.
Yeah.
And the fact that this one is going to be R-rated, so I'm thinking it can be a little more freedom. It can have more fun with it, not have to water everything down for PG-13. Especially with Glenn Powell, he gets to just let loose and have some fun. So I was looking forward to it. The teaser didn't impress us. We're like, okay, it's just a teaser. You told me there was a new trailer out. I was like, well, you know what? I'm not going to rush to see it. If I see it, I see it. And it turns out, 2 days later, I was in the theater watching the movie, and I'm like, hey, this trailer came out. I guess I'm going to watch it. It looks better than the teaser. It looks like it could have some potential. It could potentially be good, but not because of Sydney Sweeney, because she just reinforced everything I thought after the first trailer, which is that girl can't act. She can't deliver a line with any kind of emotion. She didn't appeal to me at all. She wasn't, even when she's trying to act all sexy, I'm kind of like, okay. But yeah, I hope I'm wrong about that. The movie does have potential, but if it succeeds, it's going to be because of Glenn Powell, because Sydney's not doing it for me.
Yeah. Next thing that popped up was Garfield. We're back to doing live action Garfield. It is live action, right?
Yeah. Well, no, it's animated. It's clearly
No, it's
animated.
animated. I was like, I'm trying to remember. Did I see John in live action?
Yeah,
No,
no,
it
it's
is.
clearly
It is.
animated.
It is animated. Chris Pratt's playing Garfield. A lot of people are pissed off about that. Look, I didn't hate him as Mario. I thought he was fine as Mario. Garfield, we'll see. We'll see. I like the cast that I'm seeing for this movie so far. You got Hannah Waddingham from Ted Lasso. You got Brett Goldstein from Ted Lasso. So right there, I'm already in. You got Chris Pratt, Nicholas Hoult, Samuel L. Jackson, Harvey. Is Harvey Julian from What We Do in the Shadows?
Oh, I don't know the name of that.
Okay. Ving Rhames, Cecily Strong. I like all those people. I do. So a lot of it's going to depend on the script. It was more of a kind of a little teaser kind of trailer. I mean, it was a teaser, but it was a long teaser.
It was because the first half I'd be bored to shit.
I like Garfield. I watched the Garfield TV show when I was a kid. My dad had like the little comic strip books. I like Garfield. I'm not a cat person, but I like
When I was
Garfield.
a kid, I enjoyed the little comic, the books as well, and they were fine. Watching this trailer though, like I said, the first half of this trailer, I was just bored. I'm like, oh my god, this is the most boring trailer I've ever watched. And then when he's a little kitten and he's waiting John's feet, I'm like, okay, can we get on with it? This is just supposed to be a trailer.
The trailer is literally the same how they did the trailer for Scoop, where it's like, oh, here's baby Scooby meeting Shaggy.
Yeah, and I think Nicholas Hoult might be John. I'm not sure. Basically, the two main characters seem to be.
Yeah, he is John. He is John.
The two main characters seem to be essentially Chris Pratt's Garfield and Samuel L. Jackson as his father, I believe. But then obviously John's in some of it as well.
Yeah.
But the first half, I was kind of like, okay, I'm just bored mostly. By the time the trailer got going, though, the rest of the movie, I think this movie looks like shit. I didn't laugh once. I don't think it's going to be funny. Honestly, I'm probably not even going to watch it unless like one of my kids wants to watch it. And they've honestly kind of aged out of it. So I kind of think I'm going to get away with not watching this one.
I will definitely keep my ear to the ground on thoughts of it from early screenings and stuff, and that'll be my gauge from there. If it goes to digital, I will obviously check it out. I don't know if I'm going to pay to see it in theaters, like I said, unless word of mouth is very, very strong. But I am hopeful. Like I said, we thought Mario was like, oh god, I don't want it to suck, but I don't know. And look how Mario did. So maybe we might get that with Garfield. Granted, Garfield and Mario are way two different licensing franchises, but I want to hope it is. I want to hope it's good because I want a good Garfield movie because the Bill Murray ones were not it. I would like a good Garfield film. We did get finally a trailer for season 2 of What If. This is a TV series that Brian and I were, I think for the most part, enjoyed. There were some episodes that were a little meh, and there were some episodes that were actually really well done. This drops on December 22nd. We're getting an episode a day for 9 days straight. Basically ending the new year or ending the year with What If. You can look up the titles to know what the episodes are about. I am choosing not to do that. I want to go in as bare bone as I can for this. I think the animation looks better this time around. I think that there's at least one storyline that I know is happening because the trailer gives it away, and that's the kind of the Die Hard one that looks fun with Favreau as Happy Hogan. I like What If. It's like I said, it's something different. It's something that you don't have to watch and have it connected to the franchises or the MC universe. It's something that you can kind of bring in, like when they brought in Captain Britain in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, like she was there. So it's like for anyone who had saw, you're like, oh, okay, cool. And Zombie Doctor Strange, you got to see, oh, okay. But you didn't need to see it. It just gave you a little bit of a tip of the hat to seeing it. I think it looks cool. I watched it only once because I didn't want to watch it more than once because I didn't want to like start catching shit. I will say the one thing that made me happy is that I saw some more Shang-Chi because we liked Shang-Chi and we hadn't heard shit about him since the movie. But it looks like we're going to get some Shang-Chi and What If. What were your thoughts on the trailer?
So my thing has always been, first of all, we know how much I hate multiverse, and so I hate the fact that referencing multiverse, they're calling this basically the multiverse is where these things are taking place. It should just be like the comics were, which was exactly what it's called. It's called What If. It's just kind of thinking, hey, what if Thanos was part of the Guardians of the Galaxy or whatever. I don't remember what happened first, but these kind of things, just theorizing, like, hey, what if this happened? Have a cool little half-hour show, and I like those. The fact that they're calling part of the multiverse, I don't care. Now, I am happy that it turned out Doctor Strange, because at the end of that last one, we're like, oh, they're really actually going to connect this to like the movies and the MCU. They didn't really. You saw Doctor Strange, who was reminiscent of that Doctor Strange from this, but it wasn't really like they were definitely connected. Yeah. So I was okay with that. I think the animation looks the same, but then again, I didn't have a problem with the animation the first season. I thought it was pretty good. Like the first season, I think this looks very, very much a mixed bag as far as what I'm going to be interested in, as far as the stories. But that's the way the first season was too. There's ones I really liked, and there's ones I didn't really care about. I don't think it's going to be a bad one in the bunch. But like, I saw the Return of Hela. I'd like to see her back in it. That's going to be cool. There's one that looks like it's some kind of like death race kind of thing happening in Arena.
Almost like a Mario Kart kind of thing.
That looks like a ton of fun.
Yeah.
Like you said, the Avengers Tower Die Hard with Happy Hogan. I think that one could be fun. I'm assuming that one's gonna be on Christmas Day or Christmas Eve. We'll see.
It is. It's the third episode, so absolutely.
Okay. So yeah. I mean, I don't think I'm gonna love all the episodes, but when I saw it, I'll check it out. It'll be enjoyable.
Yeah, and honestly, I mean, granted, I'm sure these were all shot and done way before the end of Loki season 2, but isn't the Watcher basically what Loki is now? He's just watching all the timelines and shit. Yeah. And I was like, eventually, you might as well just have Loki pop in, going, "What are you watching? Oh, if you think that one's cool, you should watch this one." And then leads into the next episode. Like, I actually would be.
I should have waited to do What If until now, and then had him be like the host of it. He could be the character who's,
or him just going, you know what, Watcher, I'll take over from here. Just do that. Which if they do, nothing against the Watcher, because I like
Jeffrey Wright.
Yeah, Jeffrey Wright. But I would laugh. I'd be like, this is what we want. This is great, because he's the god of is he the god of stories?
God of stories is what he's called. Yeah,
exactly. So What If would be perfect for Loki now. Like I said, there was a lot of trailers, but there was one trailer that did stick out to me and Brian that a lot of people either have never heard of, or people going, hey, because I've had people going, have you heard of this movie called Imaginary? And I was like, actually, I have. And we've got thoughts. Now, there were 2 stuffed animal bear trailers that we got this past week. One was Ted, the TV show. When the fuck did that get announced? Cool. I like Ted. You like Ted. Awesome. Cool. It was just a teaser. It looks like it's a prequel series, so cool. I'm cool with seeing Ted. But there's another bear movie called Imaginary. A24, or is it Blumhouse? It's A24, isn't it?
I don't know. I'll look it up. You talk.
What's that?
I'll look it up. You talk.
I want to say it's A24, which immediately makes Brian go, ugh. No, it's Blumhouse. It's Blumhouse and Lionsgate. This looks good. This looks really good. I hope it's good. But except for Boogeyman this year, which I loved, every time you get a horror movie surrounding by a kid, I always get excited by the trailer, and the movie usually greatly disappoints me. But there are 2 casting choices in this movie that I'm at least excited for. I'm not saying that they're going to save the movie by any means, but they're 2 people that I'm happy to see. One is DeWanda Wise, which we know from Jurassic World Dominion, and I want to say something else. What is oh god, there was something else that she was in besides.
She's done some other stuff. The other thing I remember her from, as I watched relatively recently, was a movie called Someone Great, which actually was a great Netflix rom-com.
And she was in Harder They Fall. That was the other thing.
Oh, that's
and
right.
Then,
briefly.
And then Tom Paine, which I know from oh god, it was the serial killer show from Prodigal Son, and he's also Jesus in The Walking Dead, who I fucking loved him in that. So 2 actors I actually really, really like. The bear looks good. This was a solid trailer. I am actually genuinely excited for this. What were your thoughts on it?
I was a little taken by surprise because I saw there's a trailer for Imaginary. So I tuned in to watch it, thinking that this is the Imaginary Friends, which is the John Krasinski directed movie that has Ryan Reynolds and a whole bunch of other people.
They both came out within 24 hours of each other, so there's a lot of confusion.
Well, no, there's no trailer for that one yet.
I thought there was a teaser.
Not that I know of. It's just something I didn't. I don't know. But so anyway, there's a movie called like Imaginary Friends, which I think is actually being abbreviated to IF now, like if. But anyway, so I went into this thinking it was that. And I watched, I'm like, oh, this is not that movie, clearly. I think it looks all right. I think it's a well-made trailer. The problem is it looks to me like every other PG-13 horror movie that's come out in the last 5 years, as a trailer-wise. And a lot of those have turned out to be really disappointing or watered down or boring. So I mean, I'm going to see this one because, like you said, it's a well-made trailer, but it just looks so much like so many others that have disappointed me. So I'm going in with tempered expectations.
I think I like the ability of it that for anyone who saw the trailer, it's a stuffed bear, but it's not like it is an Annabelle situation, but it's not an Annabelle situation because it looks like a demon is attached to the bear, but we actually see a demon like next to the bear. It's not like the bear is like running around and shit. It's like the demon's using the bear to kind of pull, like push and do shit. Like I thought it was a fun trailer. And like I said, I saw Thomas Paine and DeWanda Wise, and I was like, ooh, okay, yes, hell yeah. Just like Boogeyman. I saw people in there that I like that aren't big stars, and Boogeyman exceeded my expectations. I really enjoyed that one. So Imaginary is definitely one of those that I am excited for.
Before we go on our main topic, I want to talk about just mention one trailer we didn't see. It surprised me. It's like Amazon just announced their movies coming to Amazon Prime in December. Missing from that list is Red One. Apparently, now they're going to keep it for an entire another year, I guess, and release it next Christmas at this point, unless they're going to drop it as a surprise, which I doubt it. So anyway, I guess we're not seeing that one this year. Another one to cross off our anticipated list.
You're not going to have a movie with J.K. Simmons, Chris Evans, and The Rock, and not have them get to promote that thing thoroughly.
Yeah, so it's clearly not coming.
It's a whole nother My Spy situation where it's like, is this movie ever going to fucking come out?
Well, the thing is, My Spy they can put out in May if they wanted to and start promoting it eventually. But now at this point, you can't put it out till next Christmas essentially. Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, moving on.
Or at the earliest, like October, November. But yeah. Next, now we're to our feature topic. This is something that Brian and I talked about last week. We both got to watch it. We were very excited, but also tempered our expectations because of what it was. And that is Scott Pilgrim Takes Off. Now, this is going to be spoiler warning. It's been out for over a week now. If you're a fan of Scott Pilgrim, you've watched it already. If you're not a fan of Scott Pilgrim, us talking about it's not going to save it one way or another. So here's your spoiler warning. We're going to talk about this. This is a full-on discussion about Scott Pilgrim Takes Off. Like we said in last week's episode, at least for me, and I think Brian is at least to that point, maybe not as high as me, Scott Pilgrim versus the World is one of my favorite movies of all time. I have lost count how many times I've watched this movie. I can endlessly quote this film. I love that movie with a passion. I can talk about that movie nonstop. We have talked about that movie nonstop on this channel. So when we saw that we were getting an animated series, or at least an animated season of it, 8 episodes, half hour, your main worry was that you didn't want it to be a rehash or just a redo of the movie in animated form. I was okay with that because
I didn't think it was going to be, but the trailer made it look like, I'm like, wait, I'm seeing a lot of the same scenes in there, so that had me worried. That's all.
Well, yeah, because I told him, that's what I was telling Brian. I was like, well, Brian, it's 8 half-hour episodes. Like, that's 4 hours. There's gotta be more to it than just the movie because the movie's under 2 hours. We saw the trailer. The trailer wasn't really winning us over, especially Michael Cera's voice, which I'm gonna touch on that later in the discussion here. But we both got to watch it. I think I finished it before you did. Because I kept going, did you watch it yet? Did you watch it yet? Did you watch it? And you were like, oh, well, I'll get to it. Because you really were like worried about watching this thing. I started to become like the nagging wife to you. Because I was like, did you watch it yet? Come on, I need someone to talk to about this. But yeah, episode 1 did start off for the most part, like 80% of what the movie was.
Mm-hmm.
But when that episode ended, you were like, wait, what? and then from then on, this was a whole other different thing. For better or worse, it was a whole other different thing. I'm going to let you go first on this.
So yeah, I watched episode 1, and I'm like, they're rehashing stuff from the movie, and I'm like, I don't understand the point of this. Like, I understand if you get if maybe people aren't into the world of Scott Pilgrim, but it's like there's no reason to spend so many time rehashing this when you only have 8 episodes. Obviously, that eventually becomes clear why they did that, because it is taking off from that story. So I watched this at the end of the episode, the same thing, like, wait, what? And then episode 2, went right into episode 2, and like that starts off pretty early with Matthew Patel versus Gideon, their fight. And that's kind of the moment I sat up, I'm like, okay, I'm interested now. Like, where's this going now? Because they're clearly, because up till then, like pretty much the movie. And then I was like, wait a minute, we're taking a left turn here.
For me, it was the funeral. Because I'm like, oh, we're actually doing okay. Where are we going with this? And then we got the Patel Gideon fight, and I was like, oh.
So that's when I sat up, and it really had my attention, because I'm like, I thought it was really well done, because in animation they could do a lot of this stuff. Obviously they did a lot of fun stuff with the movie, but they could even do more in animation as far as going over the top and kind of things like that. And it really had my attention from then on. And honestly, from then on, every episode for me just got better and better and better. I enjoyed it more, and by the end of this thing, I kind of loved this. It's not perfect, but it's like the movie's here, and this series is right there. And I am so happy for it. And it has kind of an open ending, so I don't know if they're going to try to continue in the future. I hope they only do that if they can continue to get their original voice cast back.
I agree.
I don't know if they're ever going to try to do that, but they did kind of leave that little open ending. So I don't know where it's going to go, but I enjoyed this. I watched it once. I've been watching it again while watching like Real Rejects reactions to it. I'll probably
I've been doing the exact same thing.
I'll probably rewatch the series just by itself again, at least one more time before the end of the year, because this was a lot of fun.
I didn't like it as much as you did. I'll say this. What I did love is that we got a hell of a lot more Ramona in this.
Yeah, for a while it basically became, Ramona fighting the exes and things like that instead of Scott, which I thought I was perfect with, because I love, not only do I love Mary Elizabeth Winstead, but even just the character of Ramona I really like.
Yeah, anything with more Ramona or Mary Elizabeth Winstead, we are all there for. I did not like that we only had Scott in 3 episodes, because it is Scott Pilgrim. I do think that they should have at least showed him. I get it. They wanted to have the twist at in episode 6 and all this kind of stuff, and where's he been and stuff like that. But to not have Scott for 4 episodes, you kind of like, the narrative for Ramona is she's trying to find Scott, but then it's also, even Julie brings up, it's like, you only went on 1 date with this guy. Like, why do you care? And even I'm like, yeah, why do you care? Because it's not like the date was that great, so
well, it's like, the weird thing. The thing about this show, one of the problems I have with it, it's a little problem, I still enjoyed it obviously, is the continuity of it. Because in the movie they've gone on several dates to kind of have this relationship and things like that, and you can kind of understand why they're getting close. But in the show, they have only had the 1 date, yet she is so obsessed with finding him and all that stuff. But then there's other things, like there's she says to Roxy when they're going to fight, she's like, oh, are we really going to do this again? She breaks out her hair when they have the fight. And there are other moments in the show where other characters, I think Gideon, or Patel, said something about, they basically made references to fights that in this universe didn't happen. So it's kind of a weird continuity kind of thing there, which I'm willing to overlook it, just as fun. It's kind of like, well, how do they know things that didn't happen because you split timelines kind of thing?
Because it's one of those things where you have 2 people who love this movie so much, and we're not mad that they didn't do the movie. We're actually happy that they did.
Happy they didn't do the movie,
just to give us something new. But there's still things that we could nitpick at. One, the lack of Knives Chow in this show. She's one of our favorite parts of that movie. They just skim over the whole relationship of her and Scott. They skim over how Scott was seeing both women. Technically, not really, because it was just a date. But it was like, they completely just forgot that Knives Chow's a character, and then they just kind of lumped her in with the band.
Early on I felt that way. I remember talking to you about it, but then by the time at the end, I thought they used her a lot more towards the end. And I think by the end of the show, I think they used her as much in this as they did in the movie. So I was actually thought it kind of balanced out by the end of it.
I disagree, because we didn't get that relationship to start with her and Scott. And that's the other thing too, is that the show does its damnedest to not make Scott a unlikable douchebag like they do in the movie. But Michael Cera does his best with his charm to make you still like Scott, even though Scott's not a likable character. And this, outside of him, dating Knives, or at least hanging out with Knives, we don't get to see him and Knives really hang out. We don't. They kind of make Scott super innocent in this movie. So it's like when they're kind of shitting on Scott, it's like we really haven't got any of that to warrant them shitting on Scott. We haven't. He hasn't earned them shitting on him like he did earn it in the movie, and he had to, redeem himself in the movie because of everything. We didn't get any of that with Scott. It was more just Scott's just a guy, and for some reason Ramona is fixated on him. So I didn't necessarily like that. I feel like we needed to live in Scott needed to be on the show a little bit longer. And
that's what after the first episode and he died and they went to the funeral and that, I messaged you because I had not watched the whole thing. I'm like, did Michael Cera only want to come in and do like one day of voice work? Because it's like it seems like they wanted to show, and he's like, I don't really want to do it, but fine, if you guys need me for a day to set the thing in motion, I'll come do it. And then of course they brought him back towards the end. But even when they did like the older Scott turned out did Will Forte, which I love Will Forte.
And I will talk about
and we'll talk about that. But it's like Michael Cera, at least he obviously did come back and do more stuff. But at first I was like, well, did he not even want to do this? And actually, I remember we talked about when we saw the trailers, like it doesn't sound like Michael Cera anymore. It is. But by the end of the show, I thought it did, but maybe that's just more because I was more used to his older voice, I guess.
No, he never sounded like himself. And someone told me, well, he's older now. His voice isn't the same. I'm sorry. We both watched Barbie earlier this year when he was Alan. He sounds the same. And he's trying to talk like super innocent and younger in this. It's like, don't just talk like you, dude. You sound just like you do. Just be whinier, but it's just you don't sound like yourself. And then that even further proves it is if his voice is different because he's older, then why not have him be future Scott? Because the thing that took me out of this show was Will Forte. Because I'm sorry, I like Will Forte, I do. But you brought Will Forte in as the voice, and I'm just hearing Will Forte, and it was taking me out of the show because
I didn't mind it at all.
No, Will Forte's voice, because like I'm like, who's this voice? I was like, is this Sarah doing a voice? And like within 5 seconds later, I was like, oh, this is Will Forte. Why? Are you telling me that Scott's voice changed from that to Will Forte in 10 years? I'm like, no. And then it just sounded like Will Forte being Will Forte. It didn't feel like Scott anymore to me. It felt like Will Forte just being Will Forte. And that took me out of it. The action was fun at the end. Like, I enjoyed the battling and all that kind of stuff. But the older Scott dynamic, it just kind of, it didn't work for me at the end.
Yeah. See, as far as the voices, I didn't mind Will Forte. I liked it because it was fun. But I think some of the voice work that distracted me more, though, is like, especially in the early episodes, again, maybe just getting used to it. I thought there were like kind of a lot of like kind of flat line deliveries. And I think that's just more evidence that you can write it off to the fact that they probably recorded all these people like whenever they had time in their schedule. Like, well, let's go do Anna Kendrick's part today. Let's go to Jason Schwartzman's.
Oh, Anna Kendrick's got like 3 lines in this.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure they just went and like picked up and did voices whenever they had like a half a day in their schedule they could come in. And so a lot of times it kind of sounds like a flat line delivery as opposed to like interactive conversations. Now, not all the time. I think a lot of them worked, but there were times where I'm kind of like, okay, this sounds a little flat, but I still liked it. I do want to know, again, maybe it's just a scheduling. She didn't have time. Why did they not have Brie Larson do her own singing this time? Which didn't make sense to me. Now, I thought it was kind of a clever thing how they had the singer of the band whose song she sang in the first movie do her singing voice in this movie. But at the same time, it's like, why didn't you just have Brie sing it? I don't know.
That was another thing that really irked me, was that I was so waiting for Garbage Truck when they were about ready to do the song before Patel showed up, and we got a different song, and I was so bummed because I love Garbage Truck, and it made me so sad because I was like, okay, I was like, aw, what is this? This is. And then when they heard like, oh, Crash and the Boys didn't show up, and I was like, no, we gotta have Crash and the Boys. I was like, what? We're not even doing Battle of the Bands. What the fuck's going on? And then obviously,
Well, the more they skewed from the original film, the happier I was.
It makes sense. It makes sense. I get it. But I was immediately like, as the first episode was going, I was starting to get more and more annoyed. I was like, why is knives not a factor in this? Where's the Battle of the Bands? Where's Crashing the Boys? I'm like, oh, okay. But I did like the young Neil like writing the story, and it's like, oh, this is what would have happened. And I love like Edgar Wright was Edgar wrong, or was it Edgar wrong? Yeah, it was Edgar wrong. Yeah. And then I love Simon Pegg,
and it was titled Scott Pilgrim's Precious Little Life, which was the title of Volume 1 of the series.
Yeah, so like there are things in there I enjoyed. I thought Gideon and Patel's fight was fun. I thought Ramona and Roxy's fight was a lot of fun. I did not like what they did with Todd. I didn't like that.
No,
it was fine. Wallace is fantastic, but how can you not love Wallace? But I just really wanted the Todd that we got in the movie and not the Todd we got here. Chris Evans as Lucas Lee. And also bringing back Whatever song. Oh my God. I think Real Regis said, like, I haven't heard this song in over a decade. I was like, dude, make it 2 decades. My God. Like when that song played, I was like, wait. And then I came up, I'm like, oh my God, this is the Whatever song. I was like, I haven't heard this in forever. And I was like, oh, they're just gonna play the whole damn song this whole thing. I'm like, I'm not mad at this at all. But it just kept going, and I was just wondering, like, there's really zero motivation for Ramona to keep trying to look for Scott. Now, Ramona as a character working through these breakups with these characters and establishing these, I liked that. But to have it be a through line to find Scott didn't work for me because she has zero with Scott.
Well, that's how I felt when I was kind of in the midpoint of the series. It's like, okay, this is Ramona going through and kind of getting closure with all these other relationships. Is kind of it's helping the exes to not be so bitter anymore. They're kind of finding acceptance and forgiveness or whatever it is they needed, each individual person. She's kind of getting a closure with these people where maybe she like kind of left them behind and realizes how she hurt people. And like you said, the Scott journey was just the motivation for her to go through these again, to go through all these exes. So it didn't make sense because she didn't know him that long, but I didn't mind it. But then by the time at the end, I when it got you kind of knew where the story was going, I did enjoy the end a lot, but I also enjoyed Ramona's journey quite a bit. I would have been fine if that was just the show.
I would have enjoyed the ending a lot more without Will Forte. I think they just should have had Michael Cera be older Scott. Just have him either gruff his voice up a little bit or do something. It could have been scheduling, but he was doing voice work through those episodes. The Will Forte thing took me out of it. That's probably the one. If I could change anything, it would definitely be that.
If I could change anything, I would have gotten a much bigger animation budget. Because I
think they wanted to keep it looking like the comic.
Well, here's the thing. I love the art. I love the look of every single frame of the show. I think looks wonderful. It looks a lot like the comic. I think it's composed. It's painted. The drawings, beautiful, perfect. I would not change this thing. But the animation of them, the fact they went with that anime style, where a lot of times just like move and then talk, then move a little bit, talk. The only thing that's moving for half of the movie is the mouths. And it's like, I didn't like that anime kind of style where it's clearly going really cheap with the animation. Have a fully animated show in that same the drawing style, but not with that anime motion. The actual animation of it, the motion of it, I thought like, this feels so cheap. But yeah, so that's the one thing I would change.
So I didn't love it. I liked it. You gave it 4.5 stars. I said I was between probably like a 7 and an 8. There were things I enjoyed about it. I had fun watching it. Like I blitzed through it. So I didn't hate it because I watched the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously the movie's way better. So like when you said like the movie's here and it's there, for me it's like here. Like it's a good palate cleanser to watch when I want to watch Scott Pilgrim, but I want to watch something different. But for me, the story and what they did in the movie and the characters in the movie are just so, and it could just be because I have that built-in relationship with that film for so long. Maybe if I watch this enough times, like you said, you're going to watch it at least again before the end of the year, that I could grow to love these characters more that way. But like I said, the movie to me is near perfection to me. And while I
Every time I
enjoyed
rewatch the movie, and I've rewatched it probably at least once every year.
it did make me want to go back and rewatch the movie.
It moves up, it moves up, it moves up. I think it's in my top 10 at this point of all time, honestly.
Yeah, it is easily in my top 10. I don't know where in the top 10, but it's easily in my top 10. But yeah, it's like I said, anyone who's a fan of this, I'm still telling everyone, I go, yeah, watch it, definitely. Like, I enjoyed it, but this is not the movie. For 25 minutes of this series, it's the movie, and then it goes completely into a different direction, and you were either on board with that, and if you are, enjoy the ride, or you're not on board with it, and then you're going to kind of hate watch it. But if you love the characters, I don't see a way for you to hate this movie or hate the show. I don't think you'll like it as much, but if you love Ramona Flowers, you'll enjoy this because you get a hell of a lot more of her. You get more of Lucas Lee. You get more of any of the. I do think I did not like the Gideon thing.
No,
I did not. But like the whole like Gideon is this like little twerpy nerd and he's with Julie, and I didn't like the episode. I didn't like the episode with him and Lucas. I and them like buddying up and stuff like that. That didn't work for me because Gideon is such a final boss character, so having him just kind of be this like, bitchy little slouch character, like he's allowed to be a dweeby, but I didn't like where that went. Like, granted, he got back to where he was supposed to be by the end. I do like that Patel got a lot more to do because I like Matthew Patel. I love that he got so much more to do in this. I liked what Roxy had. I loved everything with Roxy and Ramona. I loved their story. I loved their conversation that they had. I felt like it was a very real heart-to-heart conversation that they had with it. That's probably like one favorite part of the show was their fight, because we're cinephiles, so I loved their fight, but just every dynamic with them together I thought was great. But yeah, no, I thought it was solid. Obviously, like I said, you loved it, which I'm glad you did, because you were the one that was like, no. And I was like, oh, yeah, no, it's going to be good. Like, I love that, like, you were here and I was here, but by the end of it, we switched. Yeah. And that makes me happy because you were so, like, ready to just, like, shit on this. And you ended up loving it, where I was like, it's fine. It's not something that I would rewatch over and over and over again, but I'm happy that there's another outlet of Scott Pilgrim. More Scott Pilgrim out there. If it brings more eyes to the film in a positive way, I'm open for another season of it because I'm now built into it. I'm prepared for what it is now. I'm not, and I think everyone is caught off guard for what this was going to be because no one knew what the hell it was going to be, because it's not, the comic book follows the movie and the movie follows the comic book. This was something completely fucking different. So no one had any idea what the hell this was going to be. And it was a welcome change. It worked most of the time. It didn't work some of the time for me, like even with you. But at the end of the day, Scott Pilgrim Takes Off was a solid welcome home with these characters. I hope the cast had as much fun revisiting these characters as we had seeing them come back and play these characters. And if they decide to do another season, you and I will both be there for it. Anything else you'd like to add?
Nope.
All right. Well, we hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you guys did, go and hit that like, share, and subscribe button to the channel so you guys stay up to date with all the latest videos pop up on Movie Crusaders. Of course, you have to follow us on all the social media outlets you see below. We'll be back probably next week because we said we weren't going to do a weekly show of this, but there's just been too much shit happening that we were like, we have to talk about this, or we're going to have like a laundry list of things.
Honestly, we're going to try for weekly. We're just not claiming it's weekly because it might not be every week. It might be 10 days, it might be 2 weeks between stuff. We don't know.
In terms of reviews, like I said, I'm trying to find time to watch this stuff. I am 100% seeing Godzilla -1. 100% I am seeing that. Brian's going to be seeing it as well. Maybe we'll do a joint review. If it's worth talking about review-wise, I'll have a review, or we'll just talk about it on the next episode of this. Brian's going to see Silent Night, so he'll have some opinions on that. Other movies that come out this upcoming week, we got Aline, which I don't think I'm going to get in my theaters yet. May, December on Netflix. I don't know if I'm... Like, it's intriguing. I just don't know if I want to watch that. Really, it's just, I'll wait until Oscar season. And then there's Candy Cane Lane, which Brian will definitely watch. I will wait to hear what Brian thinks of that before I watch it. I'm not expecting much. Oh, real tidbit. Did you like the little set photo we got for Axel Foley?
It's just that photo. It tells me nothing.
I know, but at least it shows you that they're fucking making it.
Oh, it's made. It's been done. They filmed it before. It's just a matter of when it's coming out, which apparently now.
Oh, I thought they were actually finally working on it. I was like, oh, Brian should be happy with this shot. We actually
No, there was shots from like months ago when they were filming it. So it's supposed to come out. I guess now we're looking at first half of next year. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see. Oh God, no, because they might release it at the same time they did Coming to America 2, and we all saw how that happened. Oof, yeah, but yeah, we'll be back definitely with another episode of this. What we're going to talk about, who the fuck knows? It depends on how everything plays out. But we are the Movie Crusaders. I'm Sean Waskrug. That is Brian Michaels. And until next time, in case we don't see you, go watch some movies and go have some fun.
You're still here. It's over. Go home.